Good morning and welcome back to Miniature Monday here on Gaming with ADHD, where today we are going to take a look at the final 5 mechs produced as part of the Battletech Clan Invasion Kickstarter from 2019. I finally realized that having gone through all of the mech packs, a game of Armored Combat, and the beginner box, that I needed to find some unpainted miniatures from Clan Invasion because I skipped those guys. I'm sorry, everybody, but I am here today to fix that. And before we do, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. I try to put out a few videos each week covering all sorts of tabletop gaming content, from miniatures, board games, card games, everything in between. I've got plenty of Battletech stuff that has been waiting for me to get reviewed, and I would love for you to come along and see what I have to share. So, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and take a look at the 5 mechs included with Clan Invasion. All right, so first up, I am just going to get this guy out of the way. It is the Mad Cat. Yep, I said Mad Cat. You're all probably going to be yelling in the comments right now saying, nope, that's a Timberwolf. But as an old guy, and the fact that the piece of art that you're seeing right here was my first introduction to the Timberwolf, I still call it the Mad Cat in my head. This was, well, technically this wasn't even the first piece of art. That probably would have been the 3050 tech readout, but this is the interior art from that. So obviously it's got the Clan Omni-Mech forward looking art and makes it really hard to tell depth, to tell that these are chicken legs. How far back does the torso sit? How forward does the cockpit sit? Things like that. But it's still one of those just iconic pieces of art from the Clan Invasion era. And honestly, absolutely love this one. Now, moving on, we then have what I would consider probably my favorite piece of art for the Mad Cat, and that's the cover of the Battletech Compendium. I come back to this picture a lot because of the fact that this was my first rule book. I never got a box set as a kid. Basically, a friend gave me a map, and for Christmas, my mom got me the Battletech Compendium and either the Heavy or the Assault Omni-Mechs. I completely forget which at this point. But this was the cover that I would look at over and over and over whenever I was playing Battletech. To the degree where I actually painted a Mad Cat to look like this from my collection of mechs. I've been trying to paint them looking like pilots from Legends, but if I can't find anyone from Legends, then I come up with a named pilot. If I can't do that, then I try something else. And for the Mad Cat, I figured, you know what? I should do something that I consider iconic, and to me, this is iconic. I absolutely love this piece of art, especially that elemental with like half his helmet and SRM pack torn off. Absolutely love it. All right, now this is the cover to the Rules Compendium, I believe. I'm going to go back and Battletech Master Rules Revised. This is another great one. Not as much detail as far as like the color scheme. It's kind of plain, but you've got this gas giant in the back, the drop ships coming down, the aerospace fighters. It's firing its PPC. This is another great early piece of art. I really, really like this one. All right, now this is going to be the first black and white one that we got. This is 3050 upgrade. Actually, I think there were a couple others, but like they were not as good. I decided to opt out of those. But this one I like. It gives you a much better look at the proportions. It's got these LRM 20s on the shoulders. You see the over under BPC and medium laser. And it's a really good piece of art. It gives you a lot more dynamic look to it. Really like this one. And then we have our Ill Clan version. Now, honestly, it's the Mad Cat. It's been a safe mech all along. It didn't have to go through Project Phoenix. It was never unseen to be reseen. And overall, I think they kept the legacy very much intact. It looks right. I do like how they spaced the PPC and the laser out a little bit more, so it's not as cramped as in the previous piece of art. The lasers up and underneath the chin. Overall, really, really good piece of art, and it's turned into a really, really good looking miniature as well. They've posed it a couple of times, and overall, it's been a great figure. So, anyways, that's the Mad Cat. So, bear with me, and we'll get another figure up. All right, now here we have the Puma, or the Adder. Adder being the true name, Puma being the 3050 name. Now, with its head-on blueprint art, this one leaves a lot to be desired. The fact that it has the slanted covering over top the cockpit, which I'll call a shot trap. You really can't tell from this picture. It just looks basically you don't really get any kind of definition. The guns, you can't tell in its arms how big they are. It really throws it off. But when you go to 3050 upgrade, you can see what it's supposed to look like a lot better. Now, it's still a weird design. The fact that they went with this shot trap is really odd, because tactically you would never want to do that. Basically, instead of deflecting any kind of ballistic shot away from the cockpit, in this case, it's driving it all straight to the cockpit. So how these pilots survived, I don't know. It's a good piece of art, but it's still the Puma and the Adder, and it just looks a little weird. And then this one, there wasn't a ton of evolution on the art, so we now have the Ill Clan version. It's still got the shot trap over top the cockpit. Obviously, that's where mechs like the Cougar come in. But in this case, I do like the Ill Clan look. This one, it's really clean. It's I like how it's transferred over to the miniature, and the miniature looks great as well. Overall, outside of the weird design, which that wasn't Catalyst's fault. I like the miniature. It looks good, but I still don't understand the shot trap. So, all right, and bear with me, and we'll go to our next one. All right, and next up we have the Nova, or Blackhawk. Now this, in my opinion, is probably one of the better upgrades, and you'll see as we go along. So this original piece of art from 3050 kind of shows off the odd configuration of this. Basically, the legs plug directly into the torso, and then the arms come off of the legs. And, so basically the torso can't turn at all. You either turn the whole mech or you don't turn, you don't turn. Now, I don't think I ever played it that way when I was a kid, just because the rules said you could torso twist, and they hadn't really brought in like design quirks, things like that. But this one, you sort of get the look of it. You can tell that there's all these lasers around the hands, although they look a little bit small. But this one, you can kind of see what you're going for. You don't get the chicken legs. That doesn't really come through. But overall, not a bad piece of art. The Nova was one of the mechs that was featured in the, what did they call this? The tech prints. I never picked those up as a kid, but I remember seeing books like this where they would do the cutaway, and you could see the motors and the actuators. In this case, you can see the ammunition or the lasers, the different hydraulics. Interestingly, it doesn't show the myomer muscles, which are kind of important in Battletech, but regardless, it was still a fun piece of art from back then. 3050, we get this version, which, again, it's still the same. You still got the arms into the legs, into the torso that way, but much better look. You can actually see the perspective and the depth of the miniature, or the design, I should say. And then we have our Ill Clan version. Now, in this one, essentially they fix the Nova. They put the legs into, I'm going to call it a hip joint, even though or a hip plate, I guess I could call it, which is probably not the right term for it, but whatever. So the legs are mounted into one piece, and then the arms and the arms are mounted into the torso, and then the torso is mounted onto that hip plate. I think it improves the look and the design of the mech while not getting too far away from the original art either. I really like how they actually beefed up the lasers around the hands. It just shows off a little bit better. I've painted up a couple of these already, and I really like how they look. The lasers, the old version where they're just kind of small, they don't show off very well, and I think this shows it off a lot better. I really, really like this version. But that is the Nova or Blackhawk. Now, this one is the Grendel, and probably the most confusing to me. The piece of art that you see in front of us is from the Blackthorns scenario pack, centering around that particular mercenary faction. And from what I can tell, that was set in 3057, 7 years after the clan invasion. So I'm not entirely sure why this mech was included in the clan invasion box set. Now, as you can see from this piece of art, this is kind of rough. The legs look a little bit out of proportion. Like this one looks a lot thicker, or the left leg looks a lot thicker than the right. You've still got the laser cannon basically taking up one arm instead of a lower arm and a hand actuator. But then you also have kind of these fins around the cockpit and the head. It's not a bad piece of art. It came out in 1994, so a few years after Clan Invasion, but not too bad. We then saw this from, I believe it was 3058 Upgrade, so the revised version of that book. This one is kind of odd. The feet are really big. I like the look of the gun better. it's sitting better on the shoulder mount. Again, you still have these fins centering around the head and the cockpit, which have to be absolutely atrocious for visibility, but here we are. But overall, I like how the art was improving as time went on. And then we finally have this one from the Ill Clan era. And honestly, I don't remember the mech as a kid. Again, it would have been 3058, which I was buying all the tech readouts, but I wasn't really buying all the miniatures. I had enough to play with, and I would just proxy them out. But I really like how they did the redesign. They've cleaned a lot of it up. The fins around the cockpit are a lot less pronounced, so it actually looks better. It looks more reasonable as far as the pilot being able to see out the cockpit. I like the addition of the SRM rack on the shoulder, and the gun looks a little better too. I've painted a couple of these up already, and honestly, it's a fun looking little mech. I enjoy it. The feet aren't quite as ridiculous as the 3058 upgrade, but overall, good miniature. Like the design, and I think they did well. And we come to our final mech. Now, this is the Executioner. Yes, Executioner. Sorry, I always goof it up. This is the last of the Tech Readout 3050 blueprint designs. And it is also kind of funny because the miniature, you may notice the gray looks a little off. The base looks a little different as far as the black. But it's been primed twice and base coated twice. I didn't like the color it was coming out, and I didn't have an unpainted one for the video. So this is where we're at. But at the end of the day, this original one, or the original piece of art, and the face for the cockpit, very much looks like they were trying to go for a modified version of an Atlas. The Atlas is iconic with that Death's Head cockpit, and I think they were going for something very similar with this one. When they did the 3050 upgrade, they didn't change the design very much. It still kind of has this cartoonish look to it, but it's still, again, maintained that skull-looking head, the hand over top the two lasers, and the large cannon in the left arm. But I have to say, I think the Ill Clan version is probably the best for this one. It's kind of a goofy looking design in the original art, but whoever did the art for this one, honestly, I think they absolutely nailed it. They kept all of the important pieces. It still has the hand. It's over top of the two lasers. It has the cannon in the left arm. Still has that skull face motif. Even I don't know what these are on top of the shoulders, but it still even has that. So it kept a lot of the look, but I think it made it even more intimidating. It also made it look functional and normal. It's one of those old school classic mechs from the Clan Invasion era, and I think they hit it out of the park with that one for Ill Clan. I really like the miniature. I really like the art, and just great design overall. So that's all of them. At this point, we are waiting for the Mercenaries Kickstarter, which is going to launch towards the end of March. They are going to have at least 50 new designs, including vehicles, VTOLs, and quad mechs. So it's going to be interesting to see what they actually come out with. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please do give it a thumbs up. Share it to your friends. And if you haven't yet, I'd love it if you subscribe to the channel. I do, like I said, try to put out a few videos each week, and I'd love for you to come along. But also, I do now have social media on Twitter and Facebook for Gaming with ADHD. And if you want to follow and see when I post new content there, that would be awesome, and I would really appreciate it. So links for all of that will be down in the description below. Thank you for watching, and we'll talk to you next time.